Hi guys, I'm Janice Engel. I'm the Preg Cowgirl, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to use the color wheel to get even more enjoyment out of designing your quilts. So let's get started. Along the edge are all the pure colors. These are the most saturated colors. They are the pure colors. That is right here on the color wheel. You can turn this to make your main color any color that you want. That's your pure colors. The lighter side has had white added to it in graduating lighter amounts. In other words, more white has been added, more white, until you get down here to the center, which is nearly white. So every single color that you choose on the tint side, T-I-N-T, on the tint side, it's going to take it lighter and lighter and lighter till it gets to the lightest on the color wheel. If you flip it over, the dark side, you'll see that it graduates from light to dark, and that's because they begin to add black to it. The tones, which are the first three colors, have got a gray added to it to tone it down, so it kind of mutes the colors. From the third one down to the bottom, it's just adding black to it, and that part of the color wheel is going to be called the shades. So you have the shades, the tones, you turn it over, and you have the tints. The next bit of information on the color wheel is going to be to describe the warm colors versus the cool colors. They're very easy to see. The warm colors look like fire. So right here it says warm colors and an arrow going that way. Over here it says warm colors, an arrow going this way. So your warm colors are going to be basically colors of fire. This side that we're on is the tints, the light colors. So these are the light, warm colors. Over here, we're still on the light side of the wheel. These are the light, cool colors. The cool colors are the colors of grass and water. If you turn it over to the deeper tones, you're also going to have the same thing. It's going to say your warm colors start here and go across, your cool colors start here and go across. So these are your deep toned warm colors, deep toned cool colors. The next thing we're going to talk about the color wheel is what's called color theory. Color theory states that there's only two ways to use color in any project. So think about that for a second. If there's only two ways to use color in a project, what are those ways? Because it seems like there would be hundreds of ways to use color in a project. Well, I'll tell you. There's only two ways to use color because there's only the ability to contrast color or to harmonize color. Contrasting colors are going to be lively and they're going to attract a lot of attention, whereas harmonizing colors are going to be more sort of the wind beneath the wings of your quilt. Your harmonizing parts of your quilt are going to lay sort of like in the crowd so that your contrasting colors in a block can really shine out. In designing a quilt, if you have ever had the perfect quilt in your head, but then whenever you get it finished, there's so much competition going on in the quilt that you can tell that you tried to make every single block stand out as a star. And sometimes that's what happens when we don't realize that harmony in a quilt has its place. Let's say you want this yellow-orange, and the direct complementary color to that is violet blue. These two colors, these colors used together or next to each other are going to become the Hollywood stars of that quilt. So keep that in mind whenever you get ready to use that. And to remember it, it says so right here. Complementary is straight across. Wherever you put it, it's straight across from there. So if you don't want to use the most complementary or the most opposite or most contrasting colors on the color wheel, say you want to use this yellow-orange, but you really think it'd be a little bit too much to go and just use these two colors right here to be your main colors. You might think that's a little bit too showy. So you might want to say, I think I'll do showy, but not quite as showy. And the way you achieve that is you get your same yellow oranges, but instead of going straight across, you just don't use that one. That's hard to do. You just don't use that one. You do these two. Okay, you use blue, violet, and blue as opposed to using direct complementaries. And that's called a split complementary because you go down here to the complementary, you don't use it, but you split off. Okay, so you can see that this is going to be a little bit less noticeable. You can use either of these or both of these. By using both of these, that's going to create a mini harmony that's going to point to this, but it's not going to scream this. Does that make sense? I hope it does. You're going to have a mini harmony here because harmony is 3 to 5. 3 to 5 that are adjacent to each other, 3 to 5 colors that touch each other. This is going to be a little bit less showy than this is going to be, and it's called split complementary, and it's this triangle right here, the small triangle. Wherever you put this, it's going to show you. Let's try the green yellow. The split complementary of green yellow is violet red and violet. So those are going to be less showy than if you just went straight and used these two colors together. The third way of using contrast colors on the color wheel is the triad. And the triad shows right here. It's this triangle and it says triad. The triangle is the triad. And wherever you turn the color wheel, the triad is going to have equal number of spaces between one color, the second color, and the third color. And the triad is going to have 5 colors in between. So the triad here is green, blue, violet, red, orange, yellow. In a triad, let me show you an example of what a triad is. If we put the pure color pointer on blue, the triad for blue is going to be actually the 3 primary colors, blue, yellow, red. That's the 3 primary colors that show on the color wheel, and anywhere else that you move it. Now, the 3 primary colors being blue, yellow, and red. And if you want to go to secondary colors, because everybody knows that blue and yellow makes green. If you take it to the green here, because you see here's yellow, here's blue, and 50-50% mix ends up being green, which is what we learned in first grade. And that secondary color can be placed on any of the secondary colors and it will show the other 2. So here's green, violet, and orange. And you know that red and yellow make orange, and red and blue make purple. So that triad is just pointing that out. Now if you want to change it to right over there to blue-green, blue-green has a triad of yellow, orange, and red, violet. Now the reason I bring up triad more than the others, well, a triad is so nice. It is almost it's almost a harmony of contrasts, if there's such a thing. It's not a harmony where nothing is noticed, but it's a gentle contrast, and it may be the most gentle contrast that there is, because here would be your real contrast, your strong contrast. A triad works so well with fabric because this gives you block after block after block of choices. You can have your say this is the 3 colors you choose. You can have your blue-green blocks, and you can have a touch of red-violet, a touch of orange. Then the next block you might have more of red-violet with a touch of this blue green and a touch of yellow orange. These three colors are going to gently pop. They're not gonna pop right off of the quilt, but they're gonna look like just a nice flow. Most of the time, a stash quilt where you get rid of a lot of your pieces are going to have that kind of little pop. It's going to have the colors that are in a triad. The other colors will be in there, but the main part of the quilt will be that triad. Here's a nice yellow green, and this is the red orange with it. And keep in mind, you can go all the way down to here, you know, all the way down to here. So if you chose a yellow green fabric that had this color but in this tint up here, you can also choose any of these colors in any of the tints. So you might want to intensify the red orange in one block and detensify, if that's a word, the red orange in another block, and the same way with the blue violet and the same way with the green. So when you're designing a quilt, the triad is a wonderful way to design a block quilt. All right, so we've discussed all three types of contrast. There's direct contrast, which is called the complementary on your color wheel. There's the split contrast, which is the small triangle and refers to one color plus its the split complementary that you can use. And then of course we heard about the triad. Now the next part, we're going to stop talking right now about contrasting, and now we're going to talk about the ones that are the harmonies. Harmonies sounds like it would be very straightforward, and it is in a way. You take 3 to 5 colors that are adjacent to each other on the color wheel, and that's a harmony. The thing is, there's pretty harmonies, and the way that the pretty harmonies are found is you look for the parent color. Here's your yellow parent color, and here's an orange parent color. Here's a red parent color, a blue parent color, and a violet parent color. Now, the reason I think of this as being parent colors is if I'm going to use 3 colors, you can look here and you can see yellow, yellow, orange. But when you get to orange, these are pretty, these are more like contrasting colors. So the way you think about harmony is you find your parent color that you want, like yellow, and you go 3 to 5 colors on either side or both sides of that. And what you want to do is keep its parent name in it. So here's yellow. I don't know if you can see that real good. Here's the yellow. Here's the green yellow and the yellow green. Here is orange yellow and yellow orange. That's the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 5 harmonies in the yellow family. They all say yellow somewhere. We'll do the red family. This is what a color wheel is so great about, because you can take this color wheel to the fabric store with you and you can see if it falls outside the scope of what your harmony would be. So here's red. Let's say red, and you want a family color of reds. So your choices are in the red harmony family are red, orange, red, red, orange. But if you get to orange over here, that can be very competitive with the red, very competitive. So you leave that part out. So now we're just going to be to the red orange. So you have red orange, orange red, red, violet red, red violet, and don't include the violet. That's a harmony of reds because the parent red is in all of those. If you were to go on over to the purple, you're going to be confused, and your quilt is going to look confusing, because are you going with the purple Are you going with the violet family colors, or are you going with the red family colors? As long as there's quite a bit of red in that violet, that's your nice harmony. The minute you start going on farther and adding more purple to it, or going on farther and adding more orange, adding orange to the family, all of a sudden it doesn't look like a family anymore. It looks confusing. And that's what happens with quilt layouts sometime. And then you say, you know, this just looked prettier in my head, and that's why. You've added too far over to be harmony of colors. So the items that we've been discussing, the complementary, the split complementary, the triad, and the harmonies, those are all color schemes. And the color schemes are described right here on the color wheel. The next color scheme that we're going to talk about is monochromatic. Monochromatic just means you're going to choose one color, any pure color, and you're going to say this red violet is your one pure color that you want to use. Now, to make a monochromatic quilt, you would take every fabric in your quilt, except for maybe if you wanted to add white and black to it, but the only color in your quilt would be different shades, tints, and tones of that one red violet. You know, batiks do this very well. But you can start with your pure color, and you can choose fabrics that have got that very same color in it, only they're darker, or they're more muted, or they are lighter. So this one was the red violet, and you would come right over here, and all the spectrum of the lights would be included in that choice for color design. Everything that started with this primary right here, you might find florals or stripes or whatever you want, but they would be that one single pure color, just in all different shades, tones, and tints of that color. And that's called your monochromatic, there it is, your monochromatic type of harmony. Now right here would be a good place to show you that on the color wheel, because the color wheel was made 300 years ago, on the color wheel they're calling harmony analogous. Okay, so harmony is analogous on the color wheel. Just like complementary is contrast. On the harmonies, harmony is analogous. They don't really call it harmony like we do these days. So that means the same. Now the last color scheme that's described on the color wheel is the analogous complementary. The analogous complementary, it's the harmony contrast. That's a shared scheme, and it's a wonderful scheme. It shares a contrast with some harmony. That color scheme is easier told than shown, because these have got some gray here that you can't really see under. So analogous complementary is where you take the 3 to 5 harmonies, and we're going to take what we've been talking with. Matter of fact, I'm going to go to the light so you can see it better. We're going to take blue. We're going to take blue. And the harmonies are 3 to 5 harmonies, as we talked about, but in analogous complementary, you're only going to use 3 of them. 3 harmony colors. So here's your blue. I'm going to take the harmonies over here, and I'm going to say I would like to do these 3 harmonies. Okay, I might say with the blue I'd like to do these 3 harmonies, but I want blue. Okay, so you're going to choose any of the 3 adjacent colors as harmony, a harmony threesome there. Now you can choose any of these 3, any one of those 3, and you're going to take the complementary to just one of them. You're going to end up with 4 colors in that block or in that quilt. It's going to be 3 as a harmony, and then you're going to say, I would like to use the contrast that matches, say, this violet blue. The harmony for that, the contrast for that harmony of the violet blue is straight down here to the yellow orange. But you don't have to choose the yellow-orange. You can choose, once again, any of the three. You can choose their contrast, any of the three. So say you want to go straight down from the blue-violet, that's where this gray is kind of in the way. So if you want to say the blue-violet, you need to go ahead and just take a peek at it that way. The blue-violet's contrast is the orange-yellow. Okay, put it back over here to the blue and say the plain blue, its contrast is down here, and that's the orange underneath there. It's a little hard to describe on the color wheel, but it's just take 3 harmonies, and any one of the contrasts that matches is the other 4th color that you'll use in that block or that quilt. I hope that that I've helped you to understand the color wheel a little bit more than you did before the tutorial. I'm going to show you in real life how this can work with your quilts. Here is the center medallion of the Codes of the Underground Railroad quilt that I'm making, and as you can see, this is a pretty dark toned but contrasting type of center medallion. So what I did, I took the three harmonies that I wanted to use, and that was these 3 right here. That's the green, blue-green, and green-blue. And I paired those colors, the harmony, with this contrast, which is orange-red. And you can see how the center just pops with those 3 colors used with that. This block is an example of a triad. You can see that it is the red-violet, shows the pinks in here, the deep pinks. So it has red-violet, the yellows, and the green-blues in it. So that's a perfect example of a triad. And these fabrics together are a pretty good representation of what harmony would do in a quilt. Here's a color, here's a little swatch. This happens to be an embroidery that I did, but if you notice, it uses the complementary colors of the blue and orange. And you see how the orange pops right out. And you see how the colors that are in the background, and these, I can't really describe that as anything except the wind beneath their wings. The story of this piece is turquoise and orange. The ones that just kind of hang out and make the turquoise and orange look so wonderful are this soft, it's a very light avocado and this little bit of lavender. So that's one way that these work together to let these show off. Now the last example is going to be the example of how shabby chic works. They took a red tone, brought it down to a dusty rose tone, and then it came right across and added the dusty greens to it. So you can use the whole spectrum of all of the greens. Hi guys, this was not one of the most fun videos I've ever done, but I hope you did learn something about the color wheel, and if you did, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and subscribe and send it to your friends. Thanks. Bye-bye.